Hello everyone and welcome to this video tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to talk about the fundamental basics of oblique planes through freehand sketching. So all you're going to need for this video is your set square, rubber, two colouring pencils. I'd recommend red and green, and you're just going to need your 2H and 4H pencil as well. For the sake of the video I'm going to be using a black pen just for note taking, and what I would recommend is if you wanted to use a black pen, go and do a couple of notes in pencil first. Once you're happy, then trace over then in black pen. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a border going around the edge. So coming in from the edges around the page in 10mm, and then just draw in a border. Once you have that, we're just going to do a title block. So coming down from the border, we're just going to come down 10mm, then 5, and then 10 more millimeters. These two lines, they're going to be rather light. They're just construction lines. And then this line here, we're going to heavy that in. Now, in the left, write your name. And in the center here is where we're going to put our heading. We're going to put in oblique planes. Oblique planes, Planes. And then today's date, which is the 29th of September 2025, as of recording this video. What we're going to do now is we're going to get our pencil and a rubber and our colour pencils as well. We're going to draw in our isometric view here as well. And again, this is just a representation of how we get the vertical traces and the horizontal traces. And we're going to take segments away, so then we're only left with our horizontal trace, our vertical trace, our horizontal, and then our vertical, then our horizontal. So, to start things off, we're going to come on over here to the top left and we're going to draw in a three-dimensional view of a cuboid. So, once you have your neat freehand sketch of the three-dimensional cuboid, what we're going to do is, in this corner here, we're going to take out a little bite chunk, and there's a reason for that, and I'll explain that a little bit later in the video. So the way we do it, we're just going to draw our three curves here, and then on the other side, do the exact same thing, and then we just join them then together, just like that, and there is our bite chunk taken out there. So, now what we're going to do is we're going to draw in our floor or our horizontal trace now. Now that we have our horizontal trace, what we're going to do now is, similarly to up here, we're going to take a shark bite out of our floor here. Again, I'll explain that a little bit later. So just like so, then that's going to come down. And then taking our chunk out, just like so. And there's our sharp chunk taken out there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to label a couple of things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our pen or your pencil, and we're going to put an arrow in this direction, and we're going to put an arrow down in this direction here. Because when you're looking down in this direction, we're going to see our plan view, and when you're looking in this direction, you're going to see your front elevation. So this is going to be the direction of arrow A, and this is going to be the direction of arrow B. What we're going to do now is we're going to label a few more things as well. This line here is known as our line of intersection. Our line of intersection is also known as our XY line. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight this line here. I'm going to highlight it in red, and you're going to call that the XY line. And another thing I want you to call it is you're going to call it your line of intersection. And your line of intersection is going to be 90 degrees. What we're also going to do is we're just going to come on over here to the right side border, and we're going to measure over 80 millimeters. Draw a line on that 80 millimeter mark and just bring it straight down. And the reason why we're going to do this is because over on this right side of the page, we're going to make note of all of our keywords. And the first keyword, or first keywords we're going to mention is our line of intersection. We're going to write that down over here. So line of intersection. And we know that to be the XY line. And we also know that to be 90 degrees. Now, to make it a little bit more visually appealing and to also guide us as well, we're going to start using our colours. So in this section here, so looking down in the direction of arrow B, this surface here, we're going to colour it in green. Just like so. And now looking in the direction of arrow A, we're going to colour in this surface area here in red. Just like so. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to label everything now as well. This surface here, this whole surface, this is going to be known as our vertical plane, and this is where we draw our vertical trace. So what we're going to do is we're going to label that. So over here, we're going to call this the vertical plane. So we know that this surface area here is our vertical plane. This surface area here, this whole surface area, this is known as our horizontal plane. I'm going to write that down as well. Another way to describe the vertical plane is by calling it V, and the horizontal plane, we're just going to call it H. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to get back our red and our green colouring pencils, and we're going to actually draw in the trace lines. So, getting your red pencil, what we're going to do is we're going to draw in our vertical trace right here. So that is our vertical trace. And we're going to get our green colouring pencil and we're going to colour in our green horizontal trace here. Just like so. So, when you're looking in the direction of arrow A, you are going to see this vertical trace here. But this whole surface here, when you look in the direction of arrow A, you're going to see this edge, also known as the horizontal plane, as an edge view, and it's going to look as if this line appears on the XY line. Similarly, when you look in the direction of arrow B, you are going to see this whole surface here, the green surface, and you're going to see the horizontal plane. This surface here, the vertical plane, is going to appear as an edge view on the XY line. We're going to come back to that a little bit later because that is important. So what we're going to do is we're going to label this. This here is our vertical trace. So I'm going to point an arrow, bring it out over here. This is our vertical trace. And again, I'm going to point an arrow, bring it out, and this is our horizontal trace. So we've come across a few more keywords. So now in our keywords wall, what we're going to do is we're going to put in vertical plane, and we know on your vertical plane, you are going to have your vertical trace. Similarly, we have got our horizontal plane. And on our horizontal plane, we have got our horizontal trace. So, another way to describe this is our vertical plane. We know we draw our vertical trace, but our vertical plane could also be known as the wall, because our walls are vertical. Similarly, our horizontal trace is where our horizontal plane is where we draw our horizontal trace, and we can also call that the floor. Another thing to take into consideration is our labeling here. So, looking in the direction of arrow A, we can see that our horizontal plane is going to be seen as an edge view, and we can see our vertical plane as a surface. So, if we're looking in the direction of arrow A, we're going to see our horizontal plane as an edge and our vertical plane as a surface. So we label our V because we can see that, and then just over here we're going to label this H, because when you're looking in the direction of arrow A, you see H on the XY line. Similarly, when you are looking in the direction of arrow B, you can see all of the horizontal plane, but you can only see the vertical plane as an edge view on the XY line. Therefore, we're going to put V down there just like that. So we've got it labeled V, H, V, H. This will make a lot more sense when we start deconstructing this a little bit more. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw an orthographic view of this. So what we'll do is we're going to look in the direction of arrow A, and then we're going to look in the direction of arrow B. First things first, we're going to draw looking in the direction of arrow A. So we have this surface area and we have this surface area here as well. So just a neat freehand sketch. Just like so. And then we've got this surface area here as well. Let's just draw that in as well. Now, Because we have our bite chunks taken out here, it's a little bit easier to visualize. So on this surface area here, we have got our bite chunks taken out. And here, we're going to see a series of a few lines because that's what we're going to see in the direction of arrow A. What I am going to do as well is I'm going to label this, just at the top, direction A. Now, what we're going to do is we're now going to look in the direction of arrow B in our plan view. So, we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to draw our two surfaces. And when you're looking in the direction of arrow B, we can see that the bite chunk is taken out over here, and our bite chunk then on the horizontal plane is just here. And I'm going to label that direction B. Direction A is also known as the front elevation. And direction B is also known as the plan view. Now, once we have that, we're going to label in a couple of things as well. So, for repetition and for consistency, we're going to label everything again. So, looking in the direction of arrow A, we've got our vertical plane. And looking in the direction of arrow B, we have our horizontal plane. We have determined that our vertical plane is where we draw our horizontal or our vertical trace, and we've determined that our horizontal plane is where we draw our horizontal trace. So what we'll do now is we're going to colour in our sections. So looking in the direction of arrow A, we know that this section here is going to be coloured in red. And looking in the direction of arrow B, we know that this section here is going to be coloured in green. So, if we look in the direction of arrow A here, we can see our red vertical trace. So we're going to put in our red vertical trace here. And we also determined that when you look into the direction of arrow A, the horizontal plane appears as an edge view, and the horizontal trace lands on the XY line. So we're going to incorporate that as well. So this here is our XY line here, and we're going to colour in our horizontal trace just there. Same as well. When you look in the direction of arrow B, we can see our horizontal trace just here, which is going slantways. And we know that looking in the direction of arrow B, our vertical plane surface is going to be seen as an edge view. Therefore, the vertical trace is going to land on the XY line, and we're going to pop that in just there. So, to make it a little clearer, let's label in our XY line. So here is our XY line, and here is also our XY line. Just label that XY and XY. We also determined that it is our line of intersection. And we also know that it is 90 degrees. So, we know here, this is our vertical trace. And this here is our horizontal trace. We also know that another word for our vertical plane is the wall. And another word for our horizontal plane is the floor. The next thing now that we're going to do is we're going to start combining everything together, and we're going to start taking away a section as well. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to combine these two drawings up here into one. So that way we're going to remove this section here. All we're going to do is we're going to draw essentially this whole section just up here, but we're just going to remove the center section here. So starting up over here, we're going to draw in our lines and draw in our surface areas as well. So the first thing we know, we're going to draw our vertical plane. We know that that lands right here. Then we've got our horizontal plane. And then we've got our vertical plane. And then we've got our horizontal plane here. So now, let's look at our bite chunks. We know that our bite chunk here is taken out up over here. And we know that our bite chunk is taken out down here. Again now, we have our bite chunk which is taken out over here. And then on the horizontal plane, we have our bite chunk taken out over here. To label it again, this here is our front elevation. This here is our plan view. To make it easier to visualize, what we're going to do again is looking in the direction of arrow A, we've got our front elevation. This surface area here is going to be colored in red. And looking again in the direction of arrow B, we're going to see our plan view, and the plan view depicts this green area here as well. So we're going to colour in our green area. Next, we're going to indicate where the XY lines are. We know that here is our XY line and here is our other one. So we've got our two XY lines here. So let's just draw those in. One there and one there. So we've got our XY line right here. Now, again for consistency, and to reiterate the key points that we've listed over here, we're going to pop in our keywords here. So here is our vertical plane. Then down here we have our horizontal plane. On our vertical plane, we have got our vertical trace. And when you're looking in the direction of arrow A, the horizontal trace lands on the XY line. Just there. Now this time, when you're looking in the direction of arrow B, you see the plan view, you see the horizontal trace as it is on the floor, but you see the vertical trace as a line on the XY line just here. Now, let's label everything again. So here, we've got our vertical trace. And here, we have our horizontal trace. But also here, we've got our horizontal trace here as well. And we've got our vertical trace there as well. Let's label that as well. So on this line here, we've got our horizontal trace. And on this line here, we've got our vertical trace. So, to label it, relating back over here, this surface area here is our vertical trace. So we're going to label that V. Then, on the XY line, we have got our horizontal trace. We're going to label that H. In the plan view, we have got our vertical trace on the XY line. We're going to label that V. And then, looking at the plan view, we have got our vertical trace on the, we've got our horizontal trace on the horizontal plane. We're going to call that H. So we've got our V, H, V, H. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to take away the vertical plane and the horizontal plane, but we're still going to be left with our vertical trace and our horizontal trace as well. So, coming down, we're going to draw our rectangle. And we're not going to be drawing the vertical plane or the horizontal plane, so we're going to be left with these two coloured surfaces. Our red coloured surface has got our bite chunks taken out on the right, and our green surface has our bite chunks taken out on the left. So, for consistency, let's colour it in. And we know that we have got our vertical trace on the vertical plane. Even though the vertical plane is not there, we know that the vertical trace goes onto that vertical plane anyways. Then we're going to put in our horizontal trace on the XY line. Then down here, even though the horizontal plane isn't in sight, we know that the horizontal trace goes onto the horizontal plane, just like so. And, similar enough, the vertical trace goes on the XY line, like so. We know from the image up here that our XY line is here and our XY line here as well. So, just for continuity, let's draw in our XY line as well. Here's our XY. And there's our XY as well. So X, Y, X, and then Y. So, to label everything again, we've got our vertical trace, our horizontal trace, our vertical trace, and our horizontal trace. So V for vertical. The horizontal trace lands on the XY line. In the plan view, the vertical trace lands on the XY line. And then the horizontal plane. Now for the final section, what we're going to do is we are going to remove these 3D representations of the vertical trace and the horizontal trace. And then that way we're going to combine our two XY lines. So to start it off, let's draw our XY line here. And let's call it XY. We know that even though the vertical plane and the horizontal plane are not visible, they are still there. We're going to draw our vertical trace, just like so. And we know that our horizontal trace in the direction of our A lands on the XY line. just like so. When you're in the plan view, looking in the direction of arrow B, your horizontal trace is going to go on your horizontal plane, and the vertical trace is seen as an edge view and therefore lands on the XY line. So, a key point to remember, on the XY line, there is always going to be two lines. So let's make a note of that. On the XY line, there are always two lines. Let's label them. We have got our vertical trace, our horizontal trace, vertical trace, horizontal trace. So just to have a quick recap, we started off with our isometric view up here depicting our horizontal and vertical planes, and on our vertical plane we have got our vertical trace, and on our horizontal plane we have our horizontal trace. Looking in the direction of arrow A, we see our vertical trace as a line, and we see our horizontal trace as a line on the XY line. In the opposite direction, when we look in the direction of arrow B, we see our horizontal trace in full, but we see the vertical trace as an edge view, therefore it lands on the XY line. And we can see that in these views here, we have our orthographic projection, and we also have our front elevation and our plan view in that orthographic view. And we can see that coming into light when we take away all of these sections, when we are left with our vertical trace and our horizontal trace on the XY, and then the vertical trace on the XY and our horizontal trace on the horizontal plane. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.